So I want to welcome everyone to our educational program tonight, Tools for Embracing the Unknown, Managing Stress and Anxiety in Cancer with Rachel Ress. And it is my pleasure to introduce her tonight. Rachel, thank you so much for coming back to give this amazing talk for us.
Of course.
Rachel Ress is a social worker who specializes in anxiety, chronic illness, and life transitions. Rachel incorporates a variety of therapeutic approaches in her practice, including cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CPT, acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, and internal family systems therapy, IFS. Rachel has extensive experience working with individuals impacted by cancer, gastrointestinal disorders, and other chronic illnesses. She spent several years working in hospital settings and nonprofits, providing direct support and program delivery. Rachel is passionate about the intersection of chronic illness and emotional well-being. Additionally, she has a particular interest in supporting young adults as they navigate the challenges of early adulthood. Rachel is a licensed clinical social worker in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. She earned a master's degree in clinical social work from the University of Pennsylvania and a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Michigan. And Rachel, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good to see you all. I'm so happy to be here and to see so many of you um, here tonight, spending some time with me and with each other. So yeah, let's get into it. And I hope um, slides are looking good. If at any point you can't hear me, can't see the slides, anything wonky happens, just let me know. But we'll kind of go ahead and get started. And so just to kind of quickly go through what we'll talk about in our hour or so together. We'll do a little bit of an introduction, although Stephanie did that beautifully just now, but really want to discuss the impact of uncertainty in the cancer experience, first and foremost, and explore tools for managing that anxiety and how to handle the unknowns and uncertainty that comes along with a cancer experience. I really want you to walk away with tools that you can use day to day when that anxiety shows up. So if you need something to write with, a pen, pencil, or if you just want to take notes, something that you can sort of, again, uh, do some thinking together. We'll do that as we go forward so that you can really build your own toolkit. That would be good. We'll discuss resilience and we'll save some time for questions at the end. I think we'll stop the recording for that. So that's sort of where we are headed. And I'll kind of dive right in. I know Stephanie, again, already kind of went over all of this, so we'll kind of skip it, but have spent my career focusing on the intersection of physical illness and mental and emotional well-being, specifically cancer and GI disorders, and really value and know how important it is to take care of our mental health in addition to all of the support, care, treatment that we get for our physical bodies too. So that's a little bit about me. I'm local. I live in Arlington. I just moved actually a couple days ago, so this is my first presentation in my new space. And I'm licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And I always like to sort of just share one fun fact about myself, which is I have this wonderful puppy. His name is Albie. He's a part of my coping toolbox. He brings me a lot of joy and a lot of calm when I'm feeling anxious. So a little moment of spotlight for him. And as we kind of dive into our own building our toolbox, he's certainly a part of mine. So let's get going. Uncertainty in cancer. So, you know, there are a lot of aspects of a cancer experience, starting with the physical, right? We know there's such a physical toll that this can take, whether it's the fatigue or pain or insomnia or changes to sleep, let alone all of the time and energy it takes to get to appointments, to go to treatments, to get the scans done. And there's also a lot of uncertainty in not knowing sort of how symptoms or how we're going to be feeling day to day, even hour to hour sometimes. Uncertainty in our schedule, feeling like that's not our own. So a lot of different physical aspects to a cancer experience. There's also a lot of emotional impacts and mental impacts of a cancer experience too. Worry, anxiety, fear, thoughts running through our head that feel like we can't stop them, not knowing maybe how you're going to feel. Are you going to feel anxious today? Am I going to be, you know, triggered by something, or is something going to remind me, whether it's a commercial on the TV or a song that's playing or something that we see while we're at the, pharmacy or the grocery store. Different things can impact us and shift how we feel and how our mood is. But I think it goes without saying that, especially these days, there are a lot of external things in our world that cause a lot of anxiety and stress and uncertainty too. Um, I think that it's important to acknowledge that the cancer experience doesn't just exist on its own or like in a vacuum, that there's all of these other components to our own personal lives, whether it's work, family things, a move, in addition to what's going on in the world and the stress that comes along with that. Um, and those stressors, those variables also impact how we feel emotionally and sometimes physically as well. So I wanted to make sure I sort of acknowledge that, especially right now. What does cancer or what does uncertainty in cancer look like? Uh, we've talked a little bit about some of this already, and I'm sure a lot of you have this experience and feel these things sort of day to day. But there's medical uncertainty, emotional uncertainty, changes in identity, practical stressors. We could really, the list goes on and on, I think. And a lot of people will share that living with that uncertainty can feel like one of the hardest parts of this experience, that managing those unknowns, what's out of our control, that uncertainty, all of those things can feel really hard. And we know that there is an emotional toll to that uncertainty, whether it's difficulty in making decisions or just feeling irritable because a lot of it, what is in our life, feels out of our control. Um, our brains really don't like uncertainty. We're sort of hardwired for, as humans, for many, many, many years ago, that we perceive things that are scary or unknown, uncertain, as a threat. And so it turns our nervous system on, and we go into that, you might have heard of that fight, flight, or freeze mode, right? We automatically see something within our environment that our brain perceives as something that we need to figure out, to fight, get away from, what have you. And that makes us feel unsafe. Worrying or our anxiety is a way our brain sort of tries to protect or prepare against that thing that we feel as a threat, even if that worry isn't really based on something we know to be true, or if it's not helpful in the moment or what have you. Our brain doesn't know that. It's trying to prepare us in the best way that it can using the tools and the system that it has. And so, what I'm hoping that we can kind of do later today in the talk is find ways to help our brain redirect some of that uh, energy and use it in a more helpful, supportive way. And maybe if we can take a moment to kind of look inward for a second here and think, what questions might be driving worry for you right now? What fears, what thoughts am I having that feel based in worry, based in anxiety? Maybe it's financial worry. How am I going to pay these bills? Are my relationships going to change or suffer because of all that I'm going through right now? Who am I going to be after treatment? Who am I now that I have been impacted by cancer? What kind of person will I be? Will my treatment work? Will I have enough energy for tomorrow, for work, for my family, for my friends to show up? Will I survive this? All of these worries, these fears, maybe they've shown up for you before, maybe not. There are things that typically I hear and with clients and what we know that these are worries that come up for a lot of people impacted by cancer, whether you're a caregiver or a patient yourself. And in fact, we know there's a high prevalence of anxiety and depression, um, and even sort of scale back even one other level, we know that there's an estimated 40 out of 100 men and 39 out of 100 women that develop cancer in their lifetime. So many, many people. And we know that individuals with cancer and their loved ones often experience heightened distress as a part of that experience. And although the research varies quite a bit on the prevalence of anxiety, depression, mood disorders, we certainly know that many patients and their loved ones are impacted by it. In fact, 25 to 50% experience some form of distress, and the development of a new mental health disorder, something like generalized anxiety, depression, increases by 30% during the first year after diagnosis. Again, that research varies quite a bit on how many people receive a diagnosis of anxiety. Most people experience symptoms of anxiety, right? But this is speaking to a diagnosis, anywhere from 17 to 44%. And similarly with depression, there's quite a range, anywhere from 20 to 49%. I always think it's important to highlight that experiencing anxiety, sadness, experiencing feelings really is a normal part of a human experience. And it is certainly a normal part of processing and living with a cancer and going through a cancer experience. When the anxiety or the sadness or whatever it is that's coming up for you feels like it's too much or it's getting in the way of your ability to enjoy things you typically enjoy or do the things that you need to do, that's when I always encourage people to reach out for help. One thing that's not on here is that there's really underutilization of people experiencing anxiety, depression, etc., getting the support that they need, whether it's from a mental health provider or other types of support. So really encouraging anyone who feels like they might be struggling or needing additional support to reach out. Start with a medical provider or Hope Connections or any of these wonderful resources available, and asking for help to get connected with what you might need. And I include all of this, I guess I'll just say before we kind of move on to the next part, I include all of this to share that it's a common experience for so many people, and that you're not alone in all of that. And I know Hope Connections especially is such a wonderful place to get support, and feel less alone, less isolated in a lot of these feelings. Okay, so let's work and move into the tools for managing all of this. Sort of what are we going to do with that uncertainty, with that anxiety that we just talked about, and how prevalent it is. What are we going to do about it? What can we do? How can we support ourselves? So the first step is sort of building that toolbox. And again, feel free to grab something to write with if you haven't already, or if you want to put a note in your phone or something on your computer. I always tell people that it's good to have something to come back to. When we're feeling anxious, when we're in distress, it can be really hard to think clearly. it can be really hard to know how to take care of ourselves in that. And so if we can have a little place to go to, or have some of our tools organized and ready for us in those moments that we're feeling anxious or feeling overwhelmed, we know right where to go. I'm going to go into that note on my phone that I created. These are my tools. This is where I'm going to start. This is how I take care of myself. If we're anxious and it feels like we don't know what to do, we don't know how to, we don't know what to do next, we don't know what's, best for us in that moment, it can be really overwhelming to even know where to begin. I think it's helpful to think about different ways to organize the toolbox too. So, a couple of ideas for you. First is to think about it sort of from a high level, right? Of sort of these macro categories. How can I take care of my physical self? Is it, you know, some of these things: exercise, nutrition, water, sleep? How can I take care of myself from a lifestyle perspective? Do I need to set a routine? Do I need to get outside? Do I need something like a hobby or a creative outlet? Do I need to support myself mentally, emotionally? Can I look at that inner voice? How am I speaking to myself? Do I need to take stock of sort of how I'm doing from an anxiety, depression standpoint and reach out and get some help? The social support perspective. Can I connect with my community? Can I connect with a family member, a friend, someone, and bring them in? And then the spiritual connection too, kind of again, thinking about this from the sort of macro lens. Is it prayer, meditation, spiritual community? So that's one way to think about organizing your toolkit. It doesn't have to be that way, but one way. Another option would be to sort of think about, okay, what do I need right now? And how can I break this into categories? Do I need to distract myself? Do I need to ground myself? Do I need to feel a little bit more like I can feel my feet underneath me? Do I need a release? Do I need to cry? Do I need to release some energy, dance it out, yell into a pillow? Do I need to get in my head a little bit and notice my thoughts? So, this is a different way of organizing, and it might be helpful um, to think of it this way um, if this feels more aligned with sort of how you notice anxiety or stress coming up for you. Another way to think about it that I always share with people is thinking about it like a menu. So if you go to a restaurant, you have your appetizers, your entrees, side dishes, desserts. And what can I do in 5 minutes to take care of myself? Or maybe even it's 1 minute. Can I take a deep breath? Can I listen to my favorite song? Or maybe I need something a little bit more. Maybe I need an entree. I need to get my 8 hours of sleep tonight. I need to take a nap. Or I need to, not right now with all of our ice, but move my body and get outside and take a long walk. And thinking about it in sort of these maybe bite size or bigger entree size tools so that okay, I have 5 minutes right now to take care of myself. This is what I can do. Or, this weekend I have a bit more time. Maybe I can devote an hour to myself. What should I look at my list and what kind of falls into those categories? So, another way to think about it. And then another option would be to really just keep it simple and put it in a sort of one category or another, which is is this a helpful thing or is this not so helpful? Something that's helpful might be getting those questions organized for my next appointment, connecting with a friend, making sure I'm drinking water, getting a cup of tea, getting outside, taking a deep breath, all helpful things. What am I doing that's unhelpful? Maybe I'm trying to predict the future, making assumptions, expecting the worst, isolating, doom scrolling, Dr. Google, Dr. Chat GPT, and taking stock, sort of noticing what's helpful, what is actually serving me, supporting me right now, what's not so helpful. Just another way to think about it. There's no right or wrong. All of these are invitations and Just a way to sort of think about and organize as we move forward and talk about different tools. Now for the tools. So right now, maybe we've been talking for a little bit now, and maybe you're noticing something coming up, maybe feeling anxious yourself, feeling tired, frustrated. But let's pause, breathe, and then we'll resume. So let's do that together just for a second. We're going to just pause for a moment. I'm going to take a breath. I think sometimes we underestimate the power of the pause and taking a breath. But why do we do it? First of all, it helps us ground ourselves and do right now in this moment. I am on this call with you all. Right now, we're connecting with each other. Right now, we're taking care of ourselves. That's what I'm doing right now. By grounding ourselves and reconnecting to what we're doing in this present moment, we also bring more awareness to what we're maybe feeling or thinking, what thoughts are in our head, what feelings might be showing up. And we don't do that often day to day. We get caught up. We're busy. We're driving to our appointments. Um, we're at work all day and we're doing that. We're with our family and we're taking care of them. We don't always get a chance to take a moment and really connect and tune inward. How am I feeling? Am I having an anxious thought that keeps showing up? What's that thought saying to me? Looking at that a little bit more and recognizing how much control our mind has. One tool is the hello feeling tool. Noticing that feeling, like I was just saying, is the first step. Naming it or identifying it is the next. Giving it some space to just be. We're noticing it. We're not doing anything about it. We're just recognizing that it's there. Getting curious about it. Not trying to judge it or fix it, make it go away. Just recognizing that it's there. All of that and that process helps us to distance ourselves from the feeling so that we can respond to it instead of react to it. When we struggle with a feeling, it often makes it more intense. If we keep trying to push it away, if we're resisting it, if we're trying to fix it, it actually intensifies that feeling. If we can notice and slow down a little bit, often we also build more tolerance to the feeling itself. I like imagery a lot. I like metaphors. And so it might be helpful to think about this like a feeling or a thought is on as a leaf and it's floating down the stream right past you. And we're just noticing it go by. We're not doing anything about it. You're not trying to get the leaf out of the river. You're just watching it go pass you by. Not fixing it, just noticing and giving that a try and seeing how that feels. Another tool is sort of looking at a thought and asking myself, is this thought helpful? Bringing to mind a thought that you typically try to push away or change, and asking yourself, what is this thought trying to get me to do? What does it want from me? Is the thought bringing me towards something I can control? Is this thought serving me? Does it help me in the short term? Or is it really just making me more worried, making me use my energy in a way that's not helpful? giving yourself a chance to look at the thought or the feeling with compassion, with curiosity, instead of getting sucked into it and getting um, more, getting sort of um, wrapped up in the anxiety. Another tool that I think can be really helpful, especially if we're feeling really anxious or distressed, is visualizing a peaceful, calm, safe space. And this doesn't need to be a real place that you've been to, it can be imaginary. What I really want you to think about is imagine it or see it in your mind's eye, really getting specific. What do you see right in front of you? What's in the distance? Is there a smell? Is there a sound? Is there something you're touching? Really using those five senses to describe it. This helps our this helps our bring internal safety. If we feel really anxious and distressed in our external world, can we create some safety and peace within ourselves? And reminding ourselves that I can bring peace. I can bring comfort to myself while holding space for the part that's overwhelmed too. Thinking about some tools from a more of a mindfulness and body-based perspective, I always like to remind people that mindfulness does not need to be complicated, and it does not need to be a 10, 20, 30 plus minute meditation where you're sitting cross-legged on the floor. It can be being really mindful and tuned in as you make the bed. What does it feel like to, you know, put the pillows back and really just being mindful of that as you're doing it? Can you eat mindfully? You take a piece of chocolate and how does it taste? What does the wrapper feel like? How does it smell? Can you mindfully walk and put your phone away? Listen to maybe there's some birds chirping, noticing what you see. Right now, it's probably a lot of ice, snow. How does the cold air feel on your face? Really connecting with those, again, senses, being aware of where you are in that moment. Can you mindfully wash your hands? How does the water feel? Using a soap that smells good, you notice the smell. How does it feel to just be in that moment with yourself? All you're doing is washing your hands. There's no other goal, just to be in that moment. Same thing if, taking a shower, just really being mindful. How does the water feel as it hits my body? Do I have a soap that smells good? Can I maybe do something like a eucalyptus or lavender or something that feels really nourishing and smells really yummy to make that shower even more, to connect to our other senses and to make it more of a mindful experience. Cuddling a pet. I told you guys at the beginning, that's one of my big tools. How does it feel to, to touch and to cuddle and to pet them? Any feeling as you're doing that. And notice any sounds or smells, being really mindful in that process too. Another idea is really connecting into our body for comfort. Sometimes when we're working with anxiety and trying to be mindful, it's hard to be in our head and put it to words, be sort of cognitive or intellectual about it. And sometimes being more physical can help. So putting both feet on the floor and feeling how they feel on the floor, actively pressing in and noticing that sensation in your body can help you feel more grounded. I love this one, thumb hold, and creates a real sense of safety and of being held. So all it means is, and I have my hand up on my screen here, is you put your thumb kind of in your hand and wrap your four fingers around it and really just notice, think about how that thumb feels. What does that sensation feel like? Hopefully it feels grounding, feels comfort. And the good thing about that one is that you can do it wherever you are. Maybe giving yourself a hug, wrapping your arms around you, feeling the pressure of your hands on your shoulder, maybe giving yourself a gentle rub. Feel how that feels. Putting your hand on your chest and either your belly or your forehead and just taking a couple deep breaths there. Really ground into yourself. I do this a lot too, hand on my chest when I'm feeling anxious to really make sure I'm taking my deep breaths in, and that hand on the chest and the belly can help focus where that breath goes. Progressive muscle relaxation is something you might have heard about. It's that idea where you tense up different muscle groups in your body, and as you release that tension, noticing how it feels in your body to relax it. So you can start sort of from your feet and work your way up, or vice versa, and think about really tensing up your toes and your feet and holding that tension together and then releasing it. And then maybe you do that with your legs, holding a lot of tension there, holding those muscles and then releasing it. Then working your way up to connect back with your body. Exercise and movement can be really helpful in connecting to our body when we're feeling anxious, out of control. And it doesn't need to be anything crazy. I'm not talking about running a marathon or running at all, even. It can be chair yoga, it can be gentle stretching, a walk down your driveway and back, any sort of movement to release those endorphins and decrease cortisol in our body. It gives us a sense of accomplishment. Moved our body today, maybe got outside, got a sip of fresh air. That gratitude walk I was talking about earlier, really noticing what you see, what you feel as you walk, anything that you're touching, smelling, hearing. Maybe noticing what you feel grateful for in nature, what you love about your neighborhood, what you feel grateful for there. We also can think about the breath as a way to connect to our body and get out of our head, get out of that anxious state too. So that can look like box breathing, thinking about drawing a box with your breath, breathing in, holding, breathing out, holding. You can do it for as many seconds as feels comfortable and just keeping it really like in your mind's eye of thinking about drawing a box with your breath and those holds. Blowing out the candles, breathing, self-explanatory, but really thinking about inhaling through your nose and exhaling. When we exhale longer than we inhale, it signals to our body that we're in a safe enough place to take that deep exhale, and helps our body feel more grounded and safer. Another good one, maybe if you've been to a yoga class, you might have they might have done this, but it's called humming bee breathing, which is again sort of doing that inhale through your nose, and as you breathe out, it's a low mm, and connecting to our vagus nerve system helps our parasympathetic tone. I think acceptance can be a tool too. It doesn't mean approval, resignation, surrender, weakness, but acceptance as a tool could be showing up where you are in the here and the now, considering what's true in this moment. What do I know to be true? Can I open and soften a little bit into the reality instead of worrying, challenging, trying to fix what's going on? Can I be with this as it is for now in this moment? If I accepted this right now in this moment, what would change? How would I feel? Really connecting to those questions. I think another part of building this toolbox is finding resilience, creating that resilience. I think sometimes resilience can be hard. It what we mean when we say resilience is the ability to cope from a difficult experience. Maybe it's the ability to adapt or recover, emotional and mental flexibility. I think sometimes people think that suffering is the opposite of resilience, and really, the way that I think about it is that resilience is our capacity to respond to suffering. Doesn't afford us the opportunity to avoid or eliminate suffering, but rather it gives us the ability to work through it. I often hear with clients that they're tired of being resilient, that they're tired of having to be strong, all of those feelings and sentiments that might be familiar to you. And maybe the mindful sort of way to respond to that or an offering would be maybe surrender. Can I take just a little bit of surrender? Can I hold both resilience and strength as well as the struggle? Maybe my resilience in this moment is asking for help. Can I lean on the people in my life? What does it mean to be resilient to you? How does it feel to think about resilience right now in this moment in relation to your experience? There's some really great tools in using resilience as a part of meaning making and thinking about meaning is really personal to each of us. Maybe giving yourself a chance to reflect in this question of what brings meaning to your life. You can think about that in different ways, right? Feels like a big question. What brings meaning to your life? Maybe thinking about it historically, our personal story, where we come from, our family, how we grew up, story of our life. Can think about it from attitudinal values of what is something that we feel pride about in our life? What is something that we've overcome? What have we encountered in our life? Creatively, how we've engaged in life through creative pursuits, work, hobbies, things we enjoy doing, things that we care about, and experiential meaning and values. So, how do we connect through life via love, via inspiration? Maybe it's art or music. And I love that quote from Viktor Frankl that we must never forget, excuse me, we must never forget that we may find meaning in life even when confronted with a hopeless situation, when facing a fate that cannot be changed. Meaning is really personal. And I think reflecting on this and giving yourself some space to think about meaning in your life can actually be a tool through the uncertainty. I value this, and I'm going to come back to my value when things feel scary, when I feel anxious, when things feel uncertain. What do I care about? What do I hold dearly? How can that inform me in making the best next decision today? Mm. So I figured, I know we've been doing a little bit of practice throughout, but I figured we can do a little practice together. Maybe take a deep breath again. I know I just did one. If you feel like you want to sigh it out, take a big deep breath, big exhale. And my ask of you would be to maybe close your eyes and turn inward if that feels safe, or maybe you want to write out these thoughts, but think for a moment about something that you're grateful for today. And bringing that in your mind's eye. Could be something so simple as sunlight, nourishing meal you had. What do I feel grateful for in this moment from this day? What is something positive that I learned about myself today? Or maybe something that came into focus for yourself today. What's something I accomplished today? Something small. Accomplishments don't need to be big. It's the little things, the small steps that we make. What's something I accomplished today? What brought me joy today? What brought a smile to my face? Was there any beauty that I encountered? Something that made me smile? And just breathing for a few minutes, visualizing these things, these positive moments, these gratitudes. How they showed up today. Maybe how you can carry them with you tomorrow. And take another deep breath. If you closed your eyes, you can gently open them. Maybe just check into how do I feel right now? Am I noticing anything different than before I took a minute to tune it in, go inward? Was that really hard? Was it really hard to think about answer to those questions? That's okay. Did I notice my mind was going in a million directions? That's okay. The practice is the work. The practice of tuning inward is just that. It's a practice. There are moments when I do this that I am so distracted and my own anxious thoughts get in my way. And there are other moments when it feels easier, and that's okay. Before we kind of wrap up and go to questions, I always just like to highlight again resources if that anxiety or anything else feels too overwhelming. Reaching out to your medical professional, social worker, therapist. 988 is a great resource. Hope Connections, knowing that you are not alone. And I think, yeah, with that, I know we have a little bit of time left, but I wanted to give folks a chance to ask questions, but also share anything that might have come up while we were reflecting together, and also just express my gratitude for all of you for showing up tonight and spending a part of your evening with me. I appreciate it. And I'm so grateful for you and grateful for Hope Connections. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Rachel.